Bert Lee. And
You're doing that?
here we go. Eventually, yeah.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
There he is. He looks like he's in Hawaii, but he's really in New York.
It's an illusion.
Shut down for that.
It's actually colder than shit outside. It's just really. But we all live in the world of Maya and illusion. Yeah, this song goes out to Banjo Dan, who was singing a song about money and the economy. And there's a history to this song, which starts with my grandfather, who was a kid during the Civil War. Now, I'm not talking about my great grandfather. I am talking about my grandfather. And at the age of 12, he went out west to get away from the war, and he got involved with a very famous robbery. And he robbed a stagecoach, and it didn't go so well. Let's just say he robbed the wrong stagecoach, and a lot of his friends ended up not so well at all. And he escaped back to the east to arrive back in the East Coast just as the Civil War was winding down, with the money that he'd snatched during the bank robbery, the stagecoach robbery. And it was quite a fortune. Unfortunately, it was Confederate money. And that's sort of the beginning of a tradition in my family. And I wanted to write a song about it for a long time. And it started off with just that reference to my grandfather and that. And then it turned into an acerbic commentary on the socioeconomic zeitgeist. Thank you so much. And so this song is called The Money Isn't Real, which you might understand is to be true when the government can find billions of dollars to make more bombs that they don't need, but somehow can't quite afford to make housing for homeless people. So the money isn't real. It goes like this. My grandpa was a grifter, a gambler and a heel. He snuck around from town to town and he dealt a dirty deal. He went out in the wild world to steal what he could steal. He stole a fortune, but the money wasn't real. No, the money wasn't real. Funny how it is, now the money wasn't real. He set out as a bandit, he came back empty-handed. He should have been a rich man, but the money wasn't real. Now the Pharaoh was a miser, his story has been told. He had 10,000 workers build a pyramid to hold all his statues and his trappings and his caskets and his gold. He wanted to have everything, but all he got was old, 'cause none of it was real. Funny how it is, now none of it was real. His monument so grand just got covered up by sand. Now he's just another mummy, man, 'cause none of it was real. Now a poor man buys a loaf of bread and he shares it and it's gone. A rich man wrecks his portion, yet his wealth keeps rolling on. And the good things that you've said and done are nothing you can pawn. 'Cause when you're in the underclass, you're always overdrawn. 'Cause the money isn't real. Funny how it is, now the money isn't real. You can follow all the rules made by idiots for fools, and you think you'll get your just reward, but you won't. You won't pick up a penny, you might spare a dime. A dollar buys a pretty meager way to waste your time. A C-note gets you groceries and a grand might buy a thrill. You might rake in a shitload and still not get your fill. I live in America, a country built on greed, and I suppose that's not a bad thing if you just take what you need. But I say everyone's afflicted by a hunger to exceed. Why should one man have a billion when there's a million mouths to feed? 'Cause the money isn't real. Funny how it is, now the money isn't real. You can burn it, you can earn it, but in the end you'll learn it all amounts to nothing. Now this is the part where I talk. Now I bought me some insurance, just in case I pass away. I've heard that could happen, and who am I to say? I might live forever, and they'd never have to pay. Shit, who would be the loser then if it all turned out that way? 'Cause the money isn't real. Funny how it is, you know now, the money isn't real. You can spend it, you can lend it, or you'll find that in the end, it all amounts to nothing. Yes, it's funny how it all amounts to nothing. So funny how it all amounts to nothing, 'cause the money isn't. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been a tough year for a lot of people, I know, and I've lost a few friends to it. And one of the losses, I want to offer one of his songs, because when I first started playing music back in the 60s in the West Village, he was an icon there. He never got famous himself, but some of his songs did. And this particular song was picked up by Steve Goodman, who's a hero to me. And Arlo Guthrie, I think, played it too. And it's one of the most beautiful songs. It's a beautiful love song. This is Peter Michael Smith's The Dutchman. The Dutchman's not the kind of man who keeps his thumb jammed in the dam that holds his dreams in. That's a secret only Margaret knows. When Amsterdam is golden in the morning, Margaret brings him breakfast. She believes him. He thinks that tulips bloom beneath the snow. He's mad as he could be. Margaret only sees that sometimes. Sometimes she sees her unborn children in his eyes. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man. Dear Margaret remembers that for me. The Dutchman still wears wooden shoes. His coat and cap are stitched with love that Margaret sews in them. Sometimes he thinks he's still in Rotterdam. He follows tugboats down canals and waves to them when he thinks he knows the captain, till Margaret comes to take him home again, through unforgiving streets that trip him though she holds his arm. Sometimes he thinks that he's alone and calls her name. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man. Dear Margaret remembers that for me. The winter whirls, the windmills round. She winds his muffler tighter. They sit in the kitchen. Some tea with whiskey keeps away the dew. He sees her for a moment, says her name. She makes the bed up, singing some old love song. A song that Margaret learned when it was new. He hums a line or two, they sing together in the night. The Dutchman falls asleep and Margaret blows the candle out. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man. Now, dear Margaret remembers that for me. That's the Dutchman, Peter Michael Smith.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's the only cover I'm going to do. I'm going to do a couple of more originals and then get out of Dodge, go under that palm tree there, break open a coconut, smoke a giant spliff, of course. You're obligated to do that under a coconut tree. You know that. I miss it. I used to live down in Key West, you know, which is the world's capital of putting things off until it's too late. So true. I heard the name Golson mentioned earlier. There's a Golson down there, Dora Golson. I think you might know who she is. She's one of the people on the music scene down there. It's a lovely music scene for a while, but after a while the jobs ran out. And so anyway, here's a tune of mine. We used to live we just moved about 2 weeks ago, actually, after a first move rather, 5 months ago. So we're worn out from moving. And the main reason for the palm trees is if you could see through that illusion, you'd see the huge piles of boxes on the floor behind me. But in the old place where we used to live, we had a window, looked out across the street, had a tree. And in that tree was stuck a plastic bag. And that little fucker stayed stuck in that tree for the 10 years that we lived in that neighborhood. And after a while, it was like a member of the family. Oh, look, there's a day moon hanging in the sky back there. It's amazing. And that plastic bag became a hero to me. And so I decided to write a song about plastic bags. And simultaneous with my writing the song, apparently the whole world started to develop a consciousness about it. And they started replacing plastic bags with cloth bags. And then COVID happened. And everybody forgot about that. And now we're back to too many plastic bags blowing down the street. So anyway, this song is about all the things that people put off thinking that they're never going to be a problem until they are. And it's called Unintended Consequence. And it can be found on my album, which is called Salt for Silver, which you can find at Bandcamp. A plastic bag blows down the street, gets tangled in a tree. Chances are another breeze will come to break it free and blow it down the alley through the back lots to the beach, where a child may try to catch it, but sails right past her reach. It floats out on the ocean, it settles on the tide. A passing whale may swallow it, it gets lodged inside. Run, Jenny, run, come look what's washed up on the sand. Come and see the gentle giant that's been slain by unknown hands. It's not your fault, and it's not mine. It didn't happen by design. It makes us sad, it makes no sense. It's only unintended consequence. An old man has a cardboard shack in a weed-choked vacant lot. He's long since quit regretting all the things he hasn't got. He seeks no help from strangers and he lives as best he can. People say he's homeless, but I say he's just a man. He comes down to my street and lays a blanket on the ground, and he makes a meager livelihood from things that he has found. He might accept a quarter, he'll settle for a dime, till the police come and stop him, 'cause they say that that's a crime. Now the hills have caught on fire since the summer brought us drought. The rangers fight it day and night, but they can't put it out. The people here are used to it, it happens every year. When a thing becomes familiar, we lose all sense of fear. The weather lady tells us that there's not much chance for rain. The scientists predicted this and the Christians all are praying. But as for me, I'll find a quiet hill to watch it from, to practice my acceptance of the things that surely come. It's not my fault and it's not yours. Sometimes it's parched, sometimes it pours. There's no blame here to dispense. There's only unintended consequence. It's not their fault and it's not ours. We'll shift the blame to higher powers. Let's just say it was a long chain of events that led to unintended consequence. That's an unintended consequence. How am I doing on time there?
Oh, you got plenty of time.
Oh, marvelous, marvelous. Okay, this is. I used to run one of the nicest open mics here in New York for many, many years. I was the host at the Cafe Vivaldi, and if you've ever passed through New York, sometime during the 90s and the early years of this century, you might have played there or at least heard about it. It was run by a wonderful man by the name of Ishrat, and he got a beautiful space on Jones Street and moved a grand piano into the space, and it instantly became the most attractive place to go play for music songwriters in New York. And I had the honor of being the host there for a number of years. And while I was there, one night I was working, and at that time it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was starting to hatch this idea of writing a book about my grandfather, who I mentioned earlier, which I ended up writing, and it's called Dead Man's Coat. But I hadn't really started writing it, and I needed a kick in the butt to get me going. And this young man showed up, and he looked like the perfect image of a folkie, and he'd just come back from England, where he played and where he'd met Donovan, and he just was all full of that life and that goodness. And he had the complete thing correct. He had the blue work shirt and the wide work belt and the Bob Dylan come John Lennon cap on. But as he was setting up the sound, I looked down and noticed that he had flip-flops on. So I pointed out the flip-flops, and he said, "Oh, well, I left my shoes in Dublin." And what happened then was that every songwriter in the room pulled out their notebook. Everyone said, "Now that's a place where you can start a song. I left my shoes in Dublin." But none of them did it, and I beat them all to the punch, because it turned out to be a song that encapsulated my grandfather running away from Dublin at the age of 12. So this is a song about that, and it's called Dead Man's Coat. I left my shoes in Dublin. I borrowed a dead man's coat. I left it all behind me, and I stowed on to a boat. I left it all behind me to be swallowed up by time. If they ever come to find me, may they pardon me my crime. They say I killed my father, but I only stole his name. He was murdered by a bottle, but I'll gladly share the blame. Murdered by a bottle, and maybe death has set him free. Now if I could only lose his ghost that hides inside of me. His ghost is in my mirror. His ghost is in my mind. It's living underneath my skin, and it won't be left behind. I tried my best to kill it, but the damn thing never dies. It stands so hard above me with whiskey in its eyes. Well, here is my confession. For whatever it is worth, haunted by my father, just like every man on earth. Haunted by my father, like every ordinary Jake. He stands so hard above me, like a storm about to break. Sailing to America to find what might be found. I'll throw these memories overboard, and I'll pray that they stay drowned. I'll throw this baggage overboard to be swallowed by the sea. Now if I could only lose his ghost that hides inside of me. I left my shoes in Dublin. I borrowed a dead man's coat. I left it all behind me, and I stowed onto a boat. I left it all behind me to be swallowed up by time. If they ever come and find me, may they pardon me my crime. That's the dead man's coat.
Outstanding.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I see my dear friend Craig Greenberg appearing and disappearing up there in the window. Have time for one more?
Yeah, you could do one more. I mean, he's supposed to go in at 2:55, but he doesn't look like he's waiting, ready to go, so go ahead.
Nice to see you, Craig. Thanks so much for your help the other day. Craig was one of the noble people that came and helped us move all those boxes. A good man he is. Left that neighborhood, moved to this neighborhood. This is a song about neighborhoods. My old Italian neighborhood has turned Chinese, maybe for good. Water everywhere. The ghetto has been gentrified. The first folks have been pushed aside. Doesn't matter if it's fair. It's the same thing everywhere. All the Indians that once lived here, they made their trade in hunting deer. Water, water everywhere. They made a bargain with the Dutch that really didn't leave them much, but the Dutchmen didn't care. It's the same thing everywhere. Now the hippies have all moved upstate. The hipsters came to take their place. Maybe the only difference is the hair. Little shops you could afford to shop in once, they now are boarded. But the building owners, they don't care. Money, money everywhere. Well, the water just goes where no, it always flows downhill. Rivers running everywhere. And who are you and I, the kid? It just does what it always did. It just goes where it's meant to be, flowing till it finds the sea. Water, water everywhere. The music clubs have all shut down. Now New York is a rich man's town. Doesn't matter if it's fair. And the only music that remains is while you're waiting for the trains. You can tip them if you care. So much free music everywhere. Well, the money just goes where it must. It's all about the boom or bust. Buddy, have you got a dime to spare? Who are you and I, the kid? It settles for the lowest bid. The bottom line is where it goes. That's just the way the money flows. Doesn't matter if it's fair. Now in my new Chinese neighborhood, the people that I meet are good. It's the same thing everywhere. No matter where they come from, friend, they're only people in the end, and it's not their fault they had to settle there. People, 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 everywhere. People trying just to be everywhere like you and me, like water flowing to the sea, going where we're meant to be. Water, 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 water everywhere. Thank you so much, John. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to show myself to some new people, and I hope you enjoyed what I did. And I'll be doing live streams in my own, and hopefully joining you folks again at some time in the future with a new backdrop and a new outlook on life. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bert. Great set. All right.